He did everything except for the cuts in the doo-wop and the breakthrough. The reason that happened is when we did the doo-wop, it sounded good to us the way that it was, but Todd wanted that rap element in it, didn't really know how to explain it to us, so he and Steve Ed went into the studio one time without us. So when we go back into the studio, he's like, I need you guys to listen to something. So the song comes on, ooh, wee, ooh, woo, woo, ooh, ooh, wee, ooh, veggie, 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 veggie. Like, what is that? So a minute, I think we were gonna hate on it for a minute. In fact, we probably were mad. But then as the song went on, it just grew on us. And we were like, okay. They took a doo-wop record and put scratches underneath it and gave it its own identity. You know, kind of like when Jay King and those dudes did, what's that song they did? I can't think of it, but it'll come back to me. They did an old song. Was it the Timex Social Club? No, it was Jay King and whatever group he was in. But I'll come back to that. But to answer your question, those two songs were the only things that Bob didn't scratch up. You know what? That's not true either. There was a song called 357 Break It On Down. And that is DJ Pooh cutting on that record. And DJ Pooh is a dude named Mark Jordan, and he's a renowned filmmaker. He's a writer and director and producer of a film called Fridays. You guys probably never saw that movie, Fridays. Nah, you know what it is? And I mean, he gave Chris Tucker his first start and whatnot, and that song has been a trilogy or whatever, and they're getting ready to do something else with it. He did a song called Three Strikes. He did The Wash with Dre and Snoop. He's a gamer. He created the Rockstar game called, what's that shit where they driving around in the city shooting and killing people? Grand Theft Auto. San Andreas. Pooh. I believe it's San Andreas. Yeah, it's that one. And I think the one after that. But again, all of us come from Uncle Jam's army at one period or another. So when the Egyptian Lover left, Bobcat became the headliner. When Bobby started going out to do his thing with other promoters and stuff, Roger would always bring in new DJs. Pooh happened to be one of the DJs in the latter end of the Uncle Jam's Army thing. One day we're at Def Jam. Me, Muff, Bob, Breeze. In walks Pooh. Pooh, what are you doing here? You know? He had met some cats in New York and had came to Def Jam because he wanted to meet with Russell, because he wanted to produce and get on and so on and so forth. And early on, the transition wasn't really that good. You know, me and Dwayne had an apartment in Brooklyn and we had a roommate, and we started bringing in a lot of outsiders. It made our roommate very uncomfortable, made the landlord very uncomfortable. They were threatening to evict us because we were loud, we were noisy, we were musicians, we're young, we don't sleep, we drink, we smoke. It's a party, you know what I'm saying? You know, in fact, when I saw shows like Puffy's Making the Band and all of that stuff, the first one, when there was a house full of rappers, that was us in Brooklyn, okay? Any given day, DMC from Run DMC would be there, Jam Master JB sleep in the bedroom. You know, it was a stop between Queens, Manhattan and Queens. Late at night, you're tired, don't want to drive home, let's go over Darryl and Dwayne's. We're not gonna say no, come on in and find your spot, you know what I'm saying? So, I can remember an incident that sometimes it hurts my feelings to think about it now, but we got over it. You know, there was just a lot of tension in the house and we were being threatened to get evicted. And then I said, Pooh, you gotta leave. You know, it was snowing. Story came out that Darryl kicked Pooh out in the snow. And that sounds fucked up, you know what I'm saying? But that ain't the way it went down. What they don't say is Daryl also went downstairs to catch Pooh. Pooh, listen, this is what it is. I acted, immaturely. I apologize. Come on back up. I'm not kicking you out, but at least understand where I'm coming from in terms of the living conditions and so on and so forth. He was under the impression that it was Bob's apartment. It's not Bob's apartment. Bob don't pay rent. The name ain't on the lease or nothing. You know what I'm saying? And Bobby was saying, you know what, since Pooh was here, he should just get down with us and be a part of what we're doing. We're like, fine, we don't have a problem with that. It's all good, you know what I'm saying? Because me and Dwayne knew the LA Posse was Daryl and Dwayne. And anyone else that wants to get down with us can also be a part of LA Posse Productions. Now understand this, Def Jam Records at the time was Rick and Russell's label. When Daryl and Dwayne came in, it didn't become Daryl's label, Dwayne's label, Russell's label, and Rick's label. That's not how it went down. It always remained their label, and we were down with Def Jam, okay? And that's how it was. I would never ever say that Bob and Pooh are not a part of LA Posse, because they are. But when LA Posse gets sued for something, guess who gets the bills? Daryl and Dwayne. You know what I'm saying? But we ain't got nothing but love for each other. We help each other. Times are down and somebody got some cheese. Here's a couple hundred, you know what I'm saying? We never ask for it back. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. And Pooh, came in and showed and proved. And, once we embraced Pooh, then he had to get through the door with LL's gatekeepers, because his gatekeepers didn't want Pooh around. But, we was like, nah, he's gonna roll with us. Again, he can stay with us in our room when we're on tour. You don't have to give him a per diem, we'll share with him. And when you're out on tour, which was like a job, we did 5 shows a week, like a job. I'm saying, you show up at the venue for sound check, they also feed you. They feed you good. So guess what? You can fill your belly. On days when we need toothpaste, soap, and whoop-de-whoop, they give us a per diem. We ensure that everybody can, get down. Everybody on the tour didn't have a room. Some of the guys on the tour had to sleep on tour buses. You know what I'm saying? But since LL was a co-headliner, LL's crew got treated, good. We didn't know that at the time. I got buddies, Hassan, Sonny. When you see this, he used to tell me, he was like, yo, you guys used to, have your own rooms. We would wake up in the morning and have to wait for Eric or Rod to come out so we could use the bathroom and shower after 6 or 7 people. I was like, are you serious? He was like, yeah. So, we were blessed, man. We were blessed. We were blessed. Me and Dwayne had no connection with that at all. Once again, when we decided that we were LA Posse, everyone was excited about it. So when Pooh and Bob and them would go back to LA, they would tell everybody about the LA Posse and how everybody could be LA Posse. And there was a guy named Mixmaster Spade, who's deceased, rest in peace. He was like, you know what, I'm gonna start LA Posse Records. And everybody in LA was like, that's dope, let's do it. So they started a little independent LA Posse Records. But when they brought it to New York and showed it to us, we was like, stop, you can't do that. What do you mean we can't do it? We own the name LA Posse, and you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? This can slide, but it's got to stop after this. Not unless you're gonna pay us. And that's called business, okay? But none of us understood business back then. So it was a lot of tension, a lot of beef. Some people didn't like each other after that, and so on and so forth. But there was another LA Posse out of Laurelton, Queens. And they was called Mikey D in the LA Posse. So LL actually brought it to our attention, and he looked at us like, what are you guys gonna do? We were like, well, what does his LA Posse stand for? He said, Laurelton, Queens. It never made any sense to us. We understood what our LA Posse stood for, and we didn't understand what his LA Posse stood for. So I never met the brother or anything. They said that theirs was first. We said ours was first. And guess what? We're going to court. Because we got a triple platinum album behind us. What do you got? And guess what? You ever heard of the Billboard magazine? Front cover. Nationwide lawsuit ended. The winners, the LA Posse. The real LA Posse. Cease and dismiss. You know what I'm saying? Or cease and desist, however they say that shit. You know what I'm saying? So we fought and we won. You know what I mean? It's all good. Watch this. Let me explain something to you. You know how people, you know how uninformed people say hip hop started in the Bronx? It's not true. Hip hop, rap started in New York. Hip hop is a culture that derived from rap music. Hip hop is a culture. It all started with rap music. So when the New Yorkers were rapping and doing jams in the park, when Kool Herc was DJing and Busy Bee was DJing and this person in Queens was DJing, you know, the people in the Bronx didn't know what the people in Queens were doing. And the people in Queens didn't know what the people in Brooklyn were doing, but everybody was doing it. You know what I mean? So nobody can say where it started for the very first time. Pop locking. You know what I'm saying? Not breakdancing, but pop locking. Where did that start? We'll stand up and argue and say it started in LA. I got some of my New York dudes that say it may have started in LA because we weren't doing that here. You know what I'm saying? But it's not really that big of a deal. It's something that is universal, that was for everyone, and everyone shared in it and got it down. I said all of that to say this. LL getting his swagger from someone. When you go to New York and you get off the plane and you get in that cab, your swagger starts. Because that cab driver is no nonsense, okay? And he'll run your ass over if you're jaywalking. They don't call it jaywalking out there. It's like you get to where you're going, and if you don't get out the way, you're getting hit. Bikes cutting inside. It was bananas. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that's where your swagger starts, because you got to get it on. You can't stop someone in Times Square and ask them what time is it. You're fucking up their flow. It's like, get a watch, idiot. You know what I'm saying? Literally. You know what I'm saying? Right, exactly.